had kids in the district. And I was so excited about being able to be a part of this family, this growing family. And so I'm just sharing with you right now just a little bit of the data. Some of the data points I remember searching online. AL has been consistently among the top 10 highest performing school districts in Missouri based on annual MAP test results. Our students outperform their peers in math, English, and science. And of course, that's what we're working to protect, to make sure we're creating an environment in which our kids can do their very best. Académie Lafayette, of course, students are taught each subject matter in French, but are tested in English. And that's pretty impressive. And I have young kids, mine are only 6 and 9, but the idea of them learning in French and being tested in English and still being able to perform at an above level, that's pretty impressive in regards to the work that our administrators and our teachers are doing. And definitely this was a motivating factor in us choosing to put our precious cargo in this district. And Académie Lafayette, of course, serves just over 1,200 students. And of course, that number continues to grow as we look forward to graduating our first class in our high school. That again is a big deal. We are literally creating a narrative right now for who we are as a school, who we are as a district, and we get to be very instrumental in that as administrators, as teachers, as parents, and of course, even as our students. And so again, this work and these conversations are so important in creating the future we want to have for our students. And the other data points I want us to be mindful of, because of course we are the diversity committee, is that 12 countries of origin are represented within our teachers and our staff. That's a big deal, because as we as a nation, as a country, as a community, as the city right now are having conversations about diversity, equity, and inclusion, we have so many opportunity zones right here within our district to lean in to that cultural intelligence, leaning into that cultural curiosity in such a way that we are feeding that, and we are creating a welcoming environment to where people want to learn about diverse backgrounds. We have this right here in our backyard, in our different schools, and we want to really elevate that and celebrate that. And we also have 21 zip codes represented within our students, which means we have students all over the city literally showing up every day to our 3 campuses. And we want to, again, really elevate that and talk about that and make sure we're taking advantage of that resource as we are a school that celebrates diversity. We celebrate equity, we celebrate inclusion. But as we talk about that, we're actually creating this thing. We are literally kind of like flying this plane while we're building it, as we're expanding, as we're growing. And we actually have a diversity statement. And if you visited our website, I'm sure you've seen it. And this is really our diversity commitment. Académie Lafayette has an entire diversity and inclusion statement, as well as a strategic plan available to everyone on the website. So if you want to know where our commitments lie and our promises lie, they're clearly available on the website. We're sharing little pieces of it right here, specifically the diversity commitment. And I want to share this because of the intentionality that is absolutely a part of who we are, and of course, who we are as the diversity committee. We recognize, celebrate, welcome, and embrace our differences and work to attract and retain all into our school community. As global citizens, we are committed to exploring and leveraging what makes us unique, including a global mindset, intercultural curiosity, multicultural capabilities. And of course, you can read the entire statement, but I want us to lean into that. Even in our diversity commitment, we're talking about intercultural curiosities and multilingual capabilities, right? That's what we're here for. That's why we've decided to choose this environment for our students. And we want to definitely capitalize on that. And now I want to share with you all a little bit more from the entire diversity and inclusion statement as a whole. Académie Lafayette is committed to the success of its students and continues to work to create an intentionally, and I like that word, that intent is absolutely there, an intentionally diverse and equitable community to reflect the demographics of the community in which we serve. And again, that intent is so important. And that's why these conversations are so important. It's important for us to bring our parents to the table, our administrators to the table, our teachers to the table to figure out exactly where we are, where we want to go, and how we're going to be there. And this has to be a collective effort. And a part of this diversity and inclusion statement I really want to highlight for the sake of our conversation here tonight is actively engaging in courageous conversations about the value of people's differences. That is huge. We just talked a minute ago about how we have so many different administrators and teachers of diverse backgrounds right here with us in our buildings, connecting with us and educating our children. We need to really lean into that opportunity zone, empowering all parties to engage in open and honest dialogue with an active voice. And that active voice part is what I want you all to enact even today as we're having these conversations. We want your ideas on the table. We want your suggestions on the table. And the part of this commitment I want want us to explore together is really the courageous conversations, us being able to kind of move beyond our own comfort zones in such a way that we are still serving our shared common goal. And a huge part of that intentionality has to come about in regards to cultivating the cultural curiosity and intelligence that's to foster better relationships between our teachers and our students and between the teachers and our parents. And that comes with an understanding, a level of, again, cultural intelligence. And so we're going to kind of talk about that today during our time together. What is cultural intelligence? How do we foster this cultural curiosity and really lean into it and really enjoy it and celebrate it? When we talk about cultural intelligence, also known as CQ, cultural intelligence is a globally recognized way of assessing and improving effectiveness in culturally diverse situations. And again, we just showed the data points to where we know we clearly have a very diverse dynamic in play right now within our district, which is what we wanted, which is what attracted us to the district. Cultural intelligence starts with an assumption that we want to communicate. We want to communicate in a way that doesn't minimize differences, but that's effective across cultural lines. And again, that intentionality right there with us wanting to celebrate, wanting to honestly explore differences, and then being able to benefit from them. Understanding that us as parents, we're going to benefit, our administrators, our teachers, and absolutely our students are going to benefit from having these access points, again, right here within our schools, right here within our organization. And we really want to capitalize on that. And as we talk about CQ capabilities, what are the benefits of that? We want to make sure that we're mindful of that. We understand the benefits of that. When we talk about CQ capabilities, it really shows up in 4 different quadrants. We're talking about CQ drive, CQ knowledge, and CQ strategy, as well as CQ action. When we talk about that drive really speaks to that intrinsic, internal enjoyment. How much do you want to know? How much are you willing to lean in and do the work? Are you curious about your child's teacher? Are you curious about the head of schools, right? Do you have that? And if you don't have it, why not? Can you lean into that? That the benefits, the extrinsic, the parts that actually benefit. What do you gain from learning about people of different cultures, of people of different zip codes? What do you gain in kind of moving beyond your own comfort zone and being comfortable in your neighborhood, your part of town, and people who look like you? And we really have to challenge that, because when we go back again to that mission statement, our goal as Académie Lafayette, that is kind of our whole thing in regards to the DEI, wanting to make sure we're creating environments that are welcoming for everyone. And CQ Drive is your willingness to work with diverse others. That this involves your ability to overcome explicit and unconscious biases to really create that inclusive space, which means we have to do that I need my work as members of this district, whether that's our administrators, our teachers, our parents, and of course, putting that into our students as well. And we talk about that CQ knowledge. It speaks to the history, the values, and your norms, right? The communication, your desire, and your know-how, and us being intentional and wanting to grow in this space. And that leads to that strategy, the planning, the awareness, the evaluation, our mindfulness in this space. And it does seem like there are a lot of steps to this, but that's what we need. We really do need that intentionality when we talk about really developing that cultural intelligence, that cultural curiosity in such a way that we are seeing each other as partners with this shared common goal, the shared common mission of making sure that Académie Lafayette is the school district that we all were drawn to, and we are supporting its growth, and we're supporting our student body, we're supporting our administrators, we're supporting our teachers in such a way that we are creating this inclusive space. And of course, that's where that action comes in. When we talk about that action, that's that adaptability. Again, we're right there back to that communication, those connection points that are so important when it comes to really developing that cultural curiosity, that wonderment that is so important when it comes to just connecting with fellow humans who have this shared common goal of making sure that our schools are best serving all of our students. And I know the word curiosity, to me, it feels like honestly a really fun word. And so I really want to share with you all really, quickly, kind of exploring the word curiosity and something that we can just kind of unpack. Take a look at this video.
What we're looking for is how everything works. What makes everything work? It has to do with curiosity.
Am I the only one who can see the video?
It has to do with people wondering what makes something do something. There's a way of looking anew.
I don't see the video, Lisa.
For the first time, and asking questions about it as if you were different.
Yeah, I don't see it. I hear it.
And then to discover that if you try to get answers, that they're related to each other.
Hold on, let me see. Hold on.
We were in navigator view rather than show view as well.
Hold on, I don't know what, hold, let me see what, let me see. You should have shared it. Let me try it again. Can you all see it now?
Yes.
Can you-
Yes, there it is.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Let me,
Uh-huh.
hold on. Okay.
What we're looking for is
Perfect.
how everything works. What makes everything work. It has to do with curiosity. It has to do with people wondering what makes something do something. There's a way of looking anew, as if you never saw it before, for the first time, and asking questions about it as if you were different. And then to discover that if you try to get answers, that they're related to each other. And things that make the wind make the waves. And the motion of water is like the motion of air, is like the motion of sand. Things have common features. Turns out more and more universal. It's almost unbelievable. The truth is so remarkable, so amazing. It's incredible. Take the world from another point of view. Curiosity as to where we are, what we are.
Just like a runner gets a kick out of sweating, I get a kick out of thinking. I can't stop.
It's curiosity.
Thank you all so much for watching. The reason I wanted to share that, one, it's just exciting, but I really want, let me see if I can stop the video. I always have a hard time with this. I really want us to really, everything that they said, how does everything work? How does our district work? How do our administrators work? How do our teachers work? How do they connect with our students? Look at something anew, looking at the district, because obviously we've been around, I think, since 1999, but we are constantly growing. We are literally in transition at all times. And that's a big deal. Like, we will watch as we graduate our first crew of high schoolers. We get to be the messenger. We get to create the narrative for this district, and that's a big deal. And so I want us all to take a very active approach. I want us to take ownership over this opportunity that we have. We get to decide what it means to be Academy Lafayette. We get to decide the narrative. We get to decide the messaging, because we will graduate our first class of students. And I want us to embrace all the goodness that we have. And of course, that lies with our cultural curiosity. And that means that it refers to the wonder and understanding of people from different cultural backgrounds regarding the way they feel, communicate, behave, and interact. We want to be able to really read, research, listen, and take advantage of all the diversity we have right here. And that's true with our staff, that's true with our students, the parts of the city we're from, the diversity we even have amongst our student body. We really do have, I firmly believe this, and I could be biased for obvious reasons. I feel like we have a little gold mine here that we have to do the work. You know, nothing is coming easy. And I often believe this, my relationship with the school district is like my relationships, like that 80-20 rule. We're not a perfect district, but we have a lot of good going on. And so we get to work on that. We get to continue to grow in that space. Inquire, think about it. Whose viewpoint is this? Is it outside of my comfort zone? Is that why I'm uncomfortable? Why does this conversation make me uncomfortable? And again, I challenge people to do that I, me, my. Why am I so uncomfortable? And of course, interact, get comfortable being uncomfortable, because as we are curious about more cultures and we learn more, the more we're going to step outside of our comfort zone. And as we do that, that's going to challenge our own selves, what we've always known to be true or what we've known to be right. And as we learn more, as we know better, we want to do better. And that means we may very well be shifting how we engage in regards to our worlds, our lives, our students, and our teachers. And so we really want to cultivate that wonderment amongst ourselves. And so I definitely want to open the floor so everyone can talk. But before I stopped talking. I do have a how culturally curious are you pop quiz. And I want you all to take all the energy from that video. And I'm sorry, I didn't realize it paused. I don't know why it did that to me. So I have questions and I want you all to get ready with your chat function, okay? So I want you all to engage your chat function. And I want you to answer the question in this quiz as quickly as possible, okay? If you don't know the answer, I'll allow you to let it, you don't have to respond. But if you know the answer, I want you all to engage the chat as quickly as possible. I'll give everyone like 3 seconds to engage, okay? Ready? This is the first question of your pop quiz. Go. What country is Mr. Mbang from? And all my committee members, you all better have this down pat.
Senegal?
I don't know. No, you got to engage the chat. See, you just told people. See, they're going to cheat off you now.
How do I engage the chat? Oh, my bad.
Yeah, I want you to engage the chat. I want you to say it out loud. That's okay. So go ahead and engage the chat. Okay, I see Senegal. Okay, great. I see Senegal. Ding, 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 ding. You are right. Your head of schools is from Senegal, which is in West Africa. The official name of the country is the Republic of Senegal. The African Renaissance Monument picture that I showed you guys just here is a 161-foot statue located outside of Senegal in Dakar. It is the tallest statue in Africa. And so yes, great job for everyone who knew the answer to that question. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay, here's the next question. All right, go, engage the chat function. How many languages does Mr. Mbang speak? What do you know? What do you know? What advantages have you taken advantage of? I'll give you all a couple of minutes to engage. Let's take a look at the chat. Where are we? 3, 6, 6, woo, 4, 5. Oh, look at that. Okay, okay, great. Okay, the answer is, according to his LinkedIn, 4. English, French, Spanish, and Wolof. And like, he could obviously correct me because I got this from Facebook's like stalking him online. So maybe he's upped his game without changing his LinkedIn profile. So thank you.
That is correct.
What is so is 4 correct or did he up his game?
It's 4.
Okay, great. Good job with that LinkedIn profile. I'm like online stalking him. Okay, let's see how many people had that right. I think we saw one person who had that right, which means we need to reconnect. We need to engage, okay? Last question, okay? Now this is a good one because this means you've had a real conversation about something other than education, right? Here we go. Last question, who knows it? Engage the chat, go. How many children does Mr. Mbang even have? What do you know? What do you know? Let's see, I'm in the chat. Let me see what you have. I think 7. No, that's still back to the languages. Let's see, 3, 3, 3. Okay, I see all my board members coming through, like with all the real answers. Excellent, excellent, excellent. The answer to the question is 3. And I honestly did find a picture of his children, but because I would not disrespect him and put his kids in my PowerPoint without his permission, these are actually Académie Lafayette kids. So technically they're his kids too, but these are not his children. They're just children from Académie Lafayette playing at the MLK Park. And so again, thank you all so much for engaging this. And the reason I wanted to exploit Mr. Mbang is because I want us to really look at the opportunity zones we have to make these, again, authentic connections with people who are part of our AL family, and then to learn and to grow and to create these safe spaces. And so now we're gonna have our first discussion is how can we cultivate cultural curiosity and cultural intelligence at Académie Lafayette? How can we take advantage of the diverse administrators, our teachers, and the diverse number of the different school districts that are in play? What can we do to make better cultural connections? And so I'll go ahead and open up the floor and feel free to either engage the chat or just open your mic and answer the question. Who'd like to go first?
I will, if nobody else will.
All right, go for it.
My name is Elena Parrish. I'm Jaden Booker's mom in the 9th grade high school program. Personally, we have an extremely diverse family. My family is Portuguese, Black, and white. His family is predominantly on his father's side, Black and Egyptian. So we mix a lot, but his father is married to a white Mexican Black woman who has a white kid, and we're all over the board. He's had some negative experiences with some of the white students at Académie Lafayette that we're talking through with the counselor and the principal to try to make sure they don't happen again. But I also personally am working with a couple of other neighborhood programs. I'm the president of the Manheim Association. We're working with other associations as well. Hang on, sweetheart. I'll get to you in a minute. My other little son. Nope, not time. Mommy's talking. But we're working with the different communities to work on diversifying ourselves within a community. And I would like to see an outreach that in the schools, if possible, to do cultural sensitivities in certain ways to make sure that slang words and stuff aren't just thrown around in hallways because we see them on TV and Netflix, but are more understood as to why they personally hit people to the core, and why they are disrespectful and why people feel a certain way, and to avoid negative words and violence instead of using encouraging words to empower each other. So that's what cultural diversity and understanding means to me, is making sure that we understand each other, not just on a black or white level, but also on a Mexican level, also on a Chinese or Asian level. It's just to completely understand each other as a whole.
Thank you so much. Alana, right? Am I saying your name right?
Elena,
thank you so much for that. So what you're saying is you would like to see a cultural sensitivity training for our students, our student body as well. And I think that is so key and so important. In fact, we've talked about that a little bit because we are welcoming older. Our kids are, again, getting older and older. And so we have little adults now at the Armour campus, which is something that is fairly new to us because as we, of course, welcomed our kids into Armour, that's kind of, ran smack dab into COVID as well. And so I appreciate that suggestion. And that's something we can absolutely plan for and start strategizing for, because we do need to make sure that we are mindful and we're challenging our students to do no harm with their words and their actions. And we need to have them as a part of this conversation, because ultimately the work that we are doing is for them, and they need to be mindful that their words are harmful and can be harmful as well. So thank you so much for sharing that. So we want a cultural sensitivity training for our students. And and staff. We'll just all do it. We just all need to stay together. We're gonna all go on a learning journey together.
It's literally something as simple as just having a conversation with them in small groups of just like, hey, what do you feel like when you see this? Because we know they're all trained by social media and what they see on TV and stuff at this point anyways. Like as a parent with a 14-year-old, I get maybe 15 minutes a day of his time if I'm allowed by that. But just he has a really diverse group of kids as well, and at Académie Lafayette helps a lot with that. So just to see it to be well-rounded is really nice.
Thank you so much. That's a wonderful suggestion. Thank you. Do we have anyone else who would like to answer this question? How can we cultivate cultural curiosity and cultural intelligence at Académie Lafayette? What more can we do?
I think parent series like this is an important part of it. It fosters curiosity. It fosters the desire to learn more about the people in our school, and staff and everybody else in the school, students and everybody. So definitely keeping up with these kinds of things.
Thank you, Erica. I agree. And I would like to see us, again, parallel this even with our student body, especially with our older children, our older students. I think it's so important to normalize this dialogue for them as well, because if we're having these type of conversations taking place in the hallway, there's some level of this, the cultural sensitivity and then the awareness that's not taking place. And we need to allow that to be a level set for them as well. So thank you. Anyone else who else would like to answer this question? And again, the reason we are doing this is because we really do want to extract your ideas. Because as we head into the end of this school year and welcome the next school year, we want to make sure this parent series and everything we do as the diversity committee is best serving our parents and our students and our district as a whole. And so we definitely want your ideas at the table in regards to what we can do to really create that sense of belongingness and oneness within the district. I think I see Kia's hand up. Hello, Kia.
Okay, Kelly, I just want to add something into that. Last time I was talking about the visibility, making this panel visible, this committee visible to the school. I know there are so many teachers who don't know what's going on. They might have heard about us, but never know what we're doing. So I don't know how we're gonna, put that into elements table so that next year, by the beginning of the school year, we can, certainly attend one of the meetings, not be taking the floor, but just attend one of the meetings per campus and then try to let teachers know that this committee is here and what we're doing in a very short time. We can, probably take 5 to 10 minutes to introduce ourselves and let the teachers, the schools know that there are some people behind the curtain that are doing a great job, and this is why we're doing this.
Awesome. So your suggestion is make the diversity committee more visible to the students and administrators so they understand that the work being done and they can see the connection point with us. Excellent, excellent. Thank you. Thank you for suggesting that. And Kia, I see your hand up. I apologize. Is your hand's up?
No, not a problem. And I apologize for being late. I just RSVP'd, so I didn't have the link. So thank you, Jennifer, for sending that to me. I know as far as I agree with what Ms. Parrish said, but I also want to encourage, I know the teachers regarding the cultural intelligence aspect of it. I know that the teachers receive part of their professional development, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I believe the school is still contracting with a diversity, equity, and inclusion expert. I would just, and obviously I'm not a staff member there, so I don't know firsthand about what those sessions look like. I do know in the past, just from my experience of serving on the diversity, equity, on the diversity board, that the professional development opportunities regarding diversity were not, from what I could tell, were not challenging enough. It didn't necessarily push people outside of their comfort zone in an effective way. So I believe it is important in order for our staff and teachers to have cultural competency and intelligence, that they are pushed outside of their comfort zone to really think, because it's hard work. It's not always comfortable, and it shouldn't be comfortable. And if it gives you the warm and fuzzies at a diversity, equity, and inclusion seminar, then if it's your first, second, or third one, and you're just barely hitting the surface and you leave with the warm and fuzzies, it's probably not effective, because we all should be pushed to learn about different cultures and to learn about our blind spots. And learning about our blind spots, it's painful. When I learn about mine, it's painful, because you're doing a lot of soul searching. So I would just encourage the board and the head of school that when you are utilizing these experts and when you're sending your staff to these professional development opportunities, to really just make sure it's effective and not necessarily just checking a box.
Thank you, Kia. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. And I agree that it's 100% important that we are challenging our comfort zones and we're getting to the place where we're normalizing this discomfort so we can move into a place where we're actually impacting the culture within the district. So thank you so much for that. Does anyone else want to share out before we continue our training? Our training, this is not even a training, this is a conversation. Look at me.
Lisa, I have a question for Alana Parrish. Is your freshman an AL grad from 8th grade?
Yes.
Student?
No, he's been at AL since 6th grade.
I just wondered. All right. Good.
Yeah.
I was going to say welcome, but you've been hanging around a while.
Kindergarten to 5th grade and transferred to Académie Lafayette 6th.
Okay.
So we're hoping to finish it out strong.
Lisa, if I may,
go for it.
I had a quick suggestion. This is Dorothy Warner. I'm the vice principal at Oak. For those of you I don't know, it's first of all, thank you for this wonderful session and all the work that you do. I think the little game that you played, Lisa, about Mr. Mbang was just, perfect. And I think there's so many teachers that parents don't know the depths of their background. I learned recently that Mr. Kabura, for example, at Oak speaks 8 languages. I had no idea. And I've been, working along him for 3 years. So, I think just having maybe a sheet about each of our teachers and getting that out to parents at the beginning of the school year so that they understand the background of their teacher and the culture that they bring to the classroom would be a great way to cultivate curiosity, because we have some very, I mean, it's one of the reasons that, many reasons that I love working at Lafayette is, of course, the families and the students, but the teachers and their cultural insights are just phenomenal. So that was just a suggestion.
That's excellent. I think that's a great idea, because the more I learn about my children's teacher, the more I want to learn, the more I want to ask questions. And that's a perfect way of really cultivating that curiosity in such a way that we're making those human connections, because it sounds so simple, but obviously it's a little bit more challenging than we'd like to believe. But again, being able to, again, make those connections based on differences and wanting to learn and having that wonderment. So thank you so much for sharing that. Anyone else want to answer this question?
One thing I do to get outside of my point of view is to follow diverse people of different backgrounds on social media. I know that that is like a quick and easy digital way to expand our point of view. I don't know if we can use AL's social media to sometimes put out some of these videos or some information just to expand people's view without it seeming like work. Because like you said, it is work, but this is one of those little digital bites that we sometimes take throughout our day that can kind of be a little easier to put out there.
Similar to that curiosity video, you mean?
Yes, or a tweet from, someone who's important in diversity or equity. Just sharing that the way that other people reshare information. I feel like it travels quickly. It's something that we do naturally throughout the day. I think we all do that. But what we also do sometimes is stick to our same people, and we follow the same people, so we don't always have the opportunity for those point of views. And if we could use AL, which the parents are following, hopefully, is kind of a springboard for that, I think that would be amazing.
I love it. Thank you so much. That's a great idea. Thank you so much. Okay, awesome. Well, one, thank you all so much for your ideas. We are absolutely writing these ideas. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think Jennifer has her hand raised.
Okay, yeah, go for it. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, no, I just wanted to ask, my oldest is in 5th grade, so I don't know what it looks like, for the older kids, junior high, high school, if there's an opportunity for the kids themselves to get involved in diversity issues and talking about, how to address those kinds of issues at the school. That was just something that I was curious about in the older grades.
That is a great question, and that is such an important ask. Like, I think that is, I 100% agree with you, because again, as we welcome our older kids, our older students, we absolutely have to normalize this conversation for them now, because it's going to impact how they're engaging with one another in the hallways. And so I don't know if there's an administrator on the line, on the call, who can answer that question, but I do think that's something that we can start looking at and planning for next year, because we have to get them in these conversations. In fact, we even talked about having an ambassador, if you will, from the high school to kind of join us in the diversity committee, so that they can kind of funnel information to us, because we're virtually meeting now, but back in the day we actually met in person, but it is us as the committee members. So we had maybe an ambassador from the high school who's kind of talking to us about what's going on in the hallways, the conversations the kids are having, so we can best respond to their needs. Because when we talk about really creating inclusive spaces, is not just based on ethnicity or a place of origin. It really is, we're talking about the different dimensions of identity that encompass all of our children. And so these are conversations that, as we welcome older and older students, we're going to have to transform that conversation to make sure we're creating safe spaces for all of our kids. And so thank you, Jennifer, for saying that. And I don't know if we have an admin on who wants to address that as well.
I'm not sure about an admin. I don't know how to raise my hand. I would have raised my hand a second ago.
I'm sorry. No, honestly, just open your mic and go for it.
Sorry. So with the high school, I've been working with Madam Seeley and the principal, Madam Paul, about the issues that Jaden has had. And we've been having a small discussion about working toward next year of, oh, this would be nice, or a sit down with the other parents would be good, or maybe having the kids sit in a room with a counselor and talk about their issues would be a good way to try to get over cultural differences. And honestly, it doesn't work. And it hasn't been working. And I've been dealing with this issue with racial divide with my son and another child all year with a high school. So obviously this is my first time seeing any of you. So it's kind of nice to know that it's happening in the other schools, because I do have a kindergartner who I don't want to hear all these negative words growing up, and I don't want to know too much about the cultural divides because we're such a diverse family, but I know he has to learn about them. So in my heart, it's tearing me apart. But in the high school, getting them more involved would be 100%. It'd be fantastic, because as a parent right now, I feel like I'm speaking to a brick wall and getting positive words of enforcement in return, and still having my son come home and complaining about it. So reinforcement in the high school would definitely be something that would be positive, because they're the ones that are gonna hear it the most, honestly. Luckily, hopefully we don't hear about it in kindergarten to 5th grade, or 6th to 8th, but high schoolers, they bump each other's shoulders in the hallways all the time. So
right. No, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate you sharing your experiences as well, because that's absolutely problematic. Kia, you have your hand up?
Yes. Elena, unfortunately, it happens at the lower level and at middle school, unfortunately. Lisa, I didn't know that there was a high school ambassador for the diversity committee.
Oh, no, I said we want to. We want to do that. Our hope is to create like a line of communication between the high school and for us as the committee, so that we're just not sitting in a virtual room or an actual room and not knowing what's going on. And so we've talked about that, and that's something we want to add, so that we have connections.
I would encourage you to not stop at the high school, because this is an issue at the middle school as well, not just the 8th graders, because as you know, the kids are kind of isolated by grades. So they have their own section of the hallway or their own floor. So I would encourage the diversity committee to go to the lower levels as well, 6th, 7th, 8th, maybe 5th, because those issues are prevalent at that age level as well. I have a 5th grader, 7th grader. I know when my son was my oldest, when he was in the 7th grade at AL his last year, he encountered those issues as well. And it wasn't necessarily from the students. He felt like teachers didn't recognize their blind spots in the 7th grade. So I would encourage the diversity committee to look at ambassadors from different grades to get a full perspective of what's going on school-wide and campus-wide, and from different campuses for those lower levels.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I apologize. In fact, the other thing we want to do is actually come tour the schools as well. And we haven't done that. And so in my mind, when I say high school, I'm thinking about everyone in that building, but you're right. We need to have a representation from all the grade levels. And so that they have a voice in the space as we're figuring out how to best serve them. We have to make sure we're not making decisions about people that are not in the room. And so they'll make decisions about me without me. So we want to make sure we have these kids in the room, our students in the room as well. So thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that.
And there is a restorative justice person. The kids call him Mr. J at the middle school level. I'm not sure if he does the high school, but I've heard nothing but great things about Mr. J. And based on my student and her friends, it sounds like Mr. J is very effective at what he does, and by getting the kids to think and piquing that cultural curiosity. So I don't know how in-depth Mr. J's program is, or I don't know if it's grant funded or not, but I don't know how many students he actually interacts with, because I only talk to my 7th grader. I know he's not at the lower level, but if there's an opportunity, if he's not already being utilized at many grade levels, that would be a good fit, I believe.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your suggestions, and thank you all for your input. We're going to have one more opportunity to share out before we conclude our hour, but I want us to really make the connection between cultural intelligence and acceptance and this welcoming community that we want to foster and create. Cultural acceptance is really a respect of other people's opinions. It gives others the benefit of the doubt with a dispute. So again, as we make these connections, as human to human connections, and we really foster that cultural curiosity, we'll get to the place to where we're not utilizing stereotypes and our biases and our interactions with other people. And that really does give the benefit of the doubt that's oftentimes needed when we have interactions between the teachers and the students and even the parents, if you will, definitely the parents and the administrators and teachers as well. Don't assume your culture's way is the only way. Us being open to learning and growing is a huge part. And don't talk down to anyone and communicate effectively. And ultimately, we can't get to our wants and our needs and our desires in regards to our CQ or cultural intelligence or these curiosities without really focusing on communicating. We have to figure out a way to communicate with each other. When we think about our CQ and our cultural perspective, all communication is filtered through our cultural perspective, how we see the world, how we've experienced the world. That's from our age, our race, religion, our family situation. We're interpreting everything through our own cultural experiences. And so if we're not doing that I, me, my work of being curious and learning about other cultures, then we're going to be easily offended. And that's going to, again, further isolate us and not allow us to really create that connectivity we really want within our schools, we want within our district. And because everything that we do in regards to communication is going to be filtered through your cultural perspective. And so we challenge everyone to really broaden theirs. And when we go back to the beginning of our time together, when I talked about our DEI objectives in regards to the district, one of the fundamental needs in order for us to even achieve these goals as a unit is going to be communication, right? We have to learn how to talk to each other. We have to learn how to communicate effectively. Communicate in order to share your own position, your lived experiences. We want to communicate in order to understand other points of views and seek first to understand and being able to listen. Listening is a huge part of communication. As someone who's a former journalist, I spent way too much time writing stories. I love definitions. And so this is the working definition today of what communication is: a process by which information is exchanged between individuals through a common system of symbols, signs, or behaviors, right? It's so basic, right? It's so basic. We have to make it so hard, but we have to really hone in on and focus in on how we're communicating and why communication matters. No two people ever communicate perfectly. However, the more clearly we communicate, the greater our ability is to trust one another. Right? And sometimes we have to trust the intention when the impact is not what we want it to be, which is why, again, that two-way communication is so key. Effective communication helps us better understand a person or situation and enables us to resolve differences and build trust and respect. And that's something that's going to be so necessary and so foundational as we continue to grow as a district. We want to grow as a district, but we want to maintain the standards, right? The standards of excellence the reason we chose this district for our school and the reason we continue to choose it is because we want to make sure that we're serving our children well. And that means we as administrators, as teachers, as parents have to figure out a way to communicate. And that also means us being able to have those lines of communication with our students as well. And that's huge. And we just talked about that, but really creating that pipeline. And so we understand what they need and what they're experiencing within our walls because they're telling us, they're expressing that to us. And when we think about the basic goals of communication, it is to inform, persuade, and again, we're right there back to that building relationships. And we're right there back with that cultural curiosity, that intelligence. It's necessary for us to have those authentic connections on a human to human level that seems to, again, it seems so easy, but we have to be intentional about that. We have to get to the point where we're asking questions. We have that wonderment amongst ourselves, and we're mindful of how we're communicating and the quality of communication that we are exercising. And I'm showing you all this model just because we're still kind of at the end of it, but we went into this COVID space where all we ever did was, the video communication. And that's obviously still a solid way of communicating, but wanting to have those face-to-face conversations, wanting to speak to people in real time and wanting to have discussions and making room for that and making sure that when we're in these opportunity zones to have conversations and connections with our teachers, with our administrators, with our students even, we're doing it in such a way that we want that rich connection. We want to hear what they have to say because that's a huge part. Listening and even body communication is a huge part of effective communication. And we definitely want to utilize that as we're doing this work. We're doing this work of building the district that we want and the district that we can be proud of. And we make sure that our children feel as though they are valued and we're creating that safe space of being for them. And so I just wanted to kind of unpack what we're talking about and the importance of communication when it comes to our ultimate goal of creating this school district that is diverse, that is equitable, that our children feel valued. We have to be willing to do the work of that intentional communication. And so the last question I want us to unpack together as a unit before we conclude, I know we only have 12 minutes left, is communicating at AL, what's working for you and what needs work. And I would love for you all to open up and answer one or all of the questions, whatever you feel led to do. How do you prefer to communicate with your child's teacher? what needs work regarding your student-teacher communication, and what are some of the challenges you faced in effectively communicating with your child's teacher. And again, we want you all to be as transparent and open as possible, and definitely let us know what the challenges are, and then suggested solutions, because our hope in this space is to get some information from you all so we can get it better. We can do it better as we come back in the fall. So again, who would like to share?
I don't want to be the first one.
No, go for it. No, I appreciate that. This is why we're here.
So I'll do positives first, because as far as my son at the Cherry campus, the communication there is great, but he's also a little bit disabled. So I think there's extra access to communication since he has a disability. But Jaden in the high school, the only communication I have with his teachers is when he's doing bad. Or when he's failing already, or when he's about to miss a whole bunch of stuff. So I think as far as working better with communication there, is just having access to them. I've been begging for a list of emails for teachers all year, or phone numbers or something to call. And I get, well, it should be on the website. It's not on the website. I've searched the websites for specific teachers, and I'm lucky if I can go through my Gmails 1,000 emails ago and find the right person to talk to. So that's really the most challenging thing that I've dealt with is reaching the right person in the right circumstance. And also, I didn't know that this committee even existed with the issues that I've had with him this year with diversity and communication. So it's great to know that you're even available. And I just want to highlight something that you said. When I was very young, I heard the phrase "seek to understand," and that has stuck with me in my heart my entire life. And I tell my kids, that is one of my driving forces for my kids, is seek to understand. When somebody says something to you, when somebody wrongs you, when somebody isn't understanding what you're saying, seek to understand where they're coming from so you can try to get on their level, to try to speak to them better, to try to understand them better, and understand your communications better. Because if you don't have that rounded information, then you can't be the best person that you can be for them and for yourself. So I'm like, huh, it was so great to hear that in your snippet there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. One, I appreciate you sharing, and I appreciate you allowing us, even as the diversity committee, because even as you're saying, I've been on this committee for like 2 years. And so it honestly hurts my heart, the fact that we've not really forced these lines of communication between us and the parents. But that's something we will absolutely make sure we get done for next year, and continuing these conversations, because if we're not doing the work of serving our students, our children, and obviously our administrators and teachers, then there's no point of us even spending this time together.
I don't think parents know you exist.
I know, and that's a problem. That is a problem.
All 4 of my nieces have been raised in Académie Lafayette. They've all gone to the Cherry and the Oak campus. 3 of them right now are in the Oak campus, and they deal with some cultural diversity issues as well, because they are white by skin, but by culture and by their father, they're Black, right? So they're like Black white kids, and they deal with, a few little issues here and there. But to know that there's an opportunity, there's an olive branch that we can extend to and try to create the divide, to break down that divide is fantastic. So personally, at the end of this, I want to know how to keep in contact with you guys better. So let somebody else do stuff, and then we'll talk. So
awesome. We will definitely do that. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And this is Kelly Baker. I am the chairwoman over the diversity committee. And Lisa's absolutely right. I became over this committee about 2 years ago, and really have been trying to get to this point to where we can have discussions. And I think it's so important for us to have these discussions so we know what's going on, because like you, Elena, as a diversity committee, we don't know about you. And you're right, we're not out there for the parents to see. And that's one of the reasons why with this committee, I'm really trying to work with Mr. Abang and, really try to reach out so our parents get to know us. We're actually scheduling some time so that we can tour each location so that people do know about us. And it's unfortunate, like Lisa said, we need to control our narrative, and we need to be out there really communicating what we're trying to do. We're not so much in the forefront of things, but we're working behind the scenes. And so, it's taking some time, but it's really good to hear these suggestions and recommendations, even, with Kia in talking. It's good to know that, these are things that, we need to work towards, and to be able to assist the head of school in working to get to the point. And so I will make sure Erica gets your information and reaches out and lets you know when our meetings are being held, because you're also able to join. We have a meeting once a month. And so please, feel welcome to engage in that as well. So thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Does anyone else want to unpack any of these questions?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm always happy to help. I apologize if you covered this before I logged on, but as far as number 2, what needs work regarding student-teacher communication, I would expand that to not just teachers, staff members, support staff, administrators, counselors, just making sure that the students' opinions and needs are validated and their perspectives are validated, as opposed to when a student comes to you with a concern, particularly regarding terminology that's used in the classroom or that's used in instruction material. Validate those feelings, whether you agree or not. Shouldn't be a shoo-shoo, poo-poo, oh honey, that's just a word. If a student had enough courage, because again, these are hard discussions to have. If a student has the courage to go to an adult to say, hey, I don't like this word. This word makes me feel uncomfortable use in the classroom. It's defeating when the trusted adult tells the child, oh, honey, it's just a word. And it's counterproductive. So again, it comes with that training. I mean, you would think it shouldn't be training, but apparently we're lacking some fundamental training in our professional development and cultural competency, to where staff or teachers are not consistently, anytime if one child says that, that's too many. If one child's feelings are not validated regarding issues of race and what could be considered slurs used in the classroom, it's too many. So just ensuring that administrators, teachers, support staff, that they know how to validate a child's feelings regardless of whether they agree or not, but just validating that they hear them and that they will, and to help them unpack why they feel that way, or give the child an opportunity to educate you. Because again, we don't know what we don't know. And sometimes I learn from my children all the time. They put me onto some things I've never really thought about, because the way we grew up, you just grew up that way, and you think that the way you've done things for the past almost 50 years is the right way, until your 7th grader says, but that's not the right way. So I think we have an opportunity to learn from our children. And so just like as parents do, the adults in the class in the schools do as well. So just making sure that teachers and staff are trained to not blow off children's concerns. That's my biggest issue.
Thank you so much, Kia, for sharing that. And I think that goes right in line with that cultural sensitivity training we talked about earlier, and then making sure the training is honestly face forward enough and aggressive enough to where the knowledge is there, and then the accountability comes behind it. Because it's one thing to know something, it's something else to do it, and it's something else to be held responsible for doing it. So thank you so much for sharing that, because I do think that that's something that we have to move forward with. And that should be something for students, teachers, and administrators. So we're all, again, raising the floor, we're raising expectations, we're raising the standard in regards to how we engage with one another, and how we're taking responsibility for creating this more inclusive space, right? We all have a role to play in this. And so as we know better, then we get to hold everyone responsible for doing better. So thank you so much, Kia, for sharing that. I see Elena's hand up as well.
Yeah, sorry, I finally figured out how to do it. I want to piggyback on Miss Bird Riley. Thank you for bringing up the support staff. And I do have an issue that wasn't actually acknowledged from the Cherry campus. So my son is disabled. He has epilepsy. He has to wear a helmet. He's in the kindergarten class of Madam Durham. And leaving the school one day, support staff ushering the children out of the school, aggressively grabbed him by the arm, pulled him through the door, spoke to him very closely to his face, shoved his backpack on his back, and sent him on his way. I immediately got out of my car and berated her for touching my child, first off. Asked her why she did it. Well, he wasn't moving fast enough. Then the principal and her afterwards said that he was running the wrong way in the hallway. They were afraid he was going to hurt himself. So she helped him. None of that math doesn't math out to me. If he's running the wrong way in the hallway, then how did I see him at the door being pulled? Called the cops. Cops didn't do anything. They said that unless it was on video, they couldn't do anything about it. There was no assault charges filed because I didn't assault her. And it was passed on to DFS, who didn't do anything. The school didn't do anything. So basically, my child is terrified of this person who still helps out at the school every day. Every time he sees her, he goes, "Mommy, that's the mean girl who hurt me." And she's outside with him every day. And as a parent, I feel like there's nothing I can do about it. I had completely forgotten about that until she mentioned the support staff, and I'm going, support staff as well. And he's a young Black man with a disability, and I feel like the school literally did not care about any of that. And they just, I asked for a sit down with the lady to educate her, to let her know about his disability and why it affected him so badly. Well, we refuse to put our staff and our interns in a place to where they're going to be emotionally scarred. You're not worried about my 5-year-old, but you're worried about a 26-year-old white woman. Listen here, Becky can get it. I'm sorry. Like, she hurt my baby, and there was nothing I could do about it. In that moment, looking back, I'm like, there's more I could have done, but would have been legal? No. That I reached out to the school. I reached out to police. I reached out the way I was supposed to as an adult. And I didn't know what else to do from that point on. So.
Wow. Thank you, Elena, for sharing that. Thank you so much. And this is why we have to have these conversations, because outside of the connections and being able to create this safe space, we're not going to know that. We're not going to be able to respond to that. And I think that goes right back to what you said in regards to doing that sensitivity training and letting it being required for everyone. So we all have to get to the point where we are policing ourselves. We're policing our biases. We're policing our microaggressions. We're policing our blatant aggressions, okay, in such a way that, again, we're responsible for creating this safe space for our students. So thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate that. I appreciate your willingness and your transparency. I don't want to keep you all over the time, but thank you all so much. And again, we want the ideas to keep it coming. And so when we think about effective parent-teacher communication, establish real relationships and build rapport, be consistent. And again, I want you all to consistently show up and talk to us every time we do this. Use the right tools, seek and share feedback and ideas. This is what we're doing here. We're right there back to those courageous conversations. We have to do this. This is the work that we have to do. Empathize at all times, understanding that everyone makes mistakes. But again, as we raise the floor, we raise the bar, we raise expectations, we are going to have to hold people accountable in order for us to protect this amazing district that we chose to put our children into, right? And so we have to be very protective of that and being able to educate and then hold people responsible for, again, creating the space. And of course, encourage engagement right here. We want more parents to show up. The reason we record this is so that everyone has access to what we're talking about, because we want to be transparent as we continue to grow and be very deliberate and intentional in regards to the district we want to create, not only for our children, but for this city, because Académie Lafayette will be around, God willing, far beyond our kids graduating. We want to still make sure that the district we're creating is one that we can be proud of, right? We want to look back in 20 years and be like, I remember when, but we want to make sure we get this right. And so again, personalizing interactions, making those human connections with our administrators, our staff, and our teachers, and making sure that our teachers are doing the same thing with our students. Again, that is why we're here. That's why we're doing the work. Do you guys have any more questions before we conclude our time? I just don't want to keep you all too long, and I want to honor your time, and I appreciate you all being a part of this conversation. Any questions before we conclude?
I just have one question. You mentioned holding everyone accountable. How do we do that? How does the diversity committee do that when it's a staffing issue?
Well, what we want to do is start with this education, because it's hard to hold people accountable for what they may or may not know. What we want to do is get to the place where we raise the floor. That I do believe we have to do a district-wide cultural sensitivity, cultural awareness, whatever we want to call it. We have to get to the point where our students, because our students will have the power to harm other students. We have to get to the place where our teachers, our educators, our administrators, our support staff, we're all on the same page. So we get to raise the floor. And as we raise the floor based on education and awareness and knowing, then we get to hold people accountable, because it won't be, well, I didn't understand, I didn't know the impact of what I said. We have to make sure that the knowing is there, the knowledge is there, so that we can hold accountable, because outside of us doing that, we run the risk of jeopardizing this entire experience, right? We'll get to the place where we'll have parents who don't want to be a part of this district, or they're going to move their children out of the district in a protected position. They may honor the work that we're doing, but they understand that their children are not safe here. So it's our job as parents, as administrators and teachers, is to create this safe space. And that has to start with knowledge and understanding and this training. And then we have to bring the accountability in. And so I'll be the first to admit, as we've just talked here, as to these conversations are happening in this a little bit of an incubator right here. We need to have these conversations across the board at all three campuses and raise the bar at all three campuses. And then we can bring in the accountability arm. It would be almost unfair to hold people accountable for something right now as to what they may or may not know based on their own personal journeys into understanding DEI. But what we have to do is bring in this training. Then we get to raise the floor. Then we get to hold people accountable so that we can't guarantee the outcome that we want, but we can absolutely work towards it. And that's where the work begins. So, any other questions? Did that answer your question?
Elena, my number's I sent you a direct message if you want to call me.
Okay. How do I see that? In the chat?
Yes.
Yeah, in the chat. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for your transparency.
Well, no, my question would be, oh, dang it, I don't know how to see that. We'll figure that out. Who would be if I were to try to contact the diversity committee, who would be first, second, and third contact, or is there a direct email for the committee to get a hold of in case of situations to where we feel like, look, the school's not doing what they're supposed to be doing. I need something else. I need something more.
Kelly, do you want to take that?
Sure. Elena, you can contact me directly. I also sit on the AL board. I'm a board member as well. So you can contact me at, I'll put it in the chat, or if you want, it's kbaker at academylafayette.org.
K-A-Y?
Yes, ma'am.
Baker at acl.org.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And I see how to see the direct messages now. I'm getting it.
Okay, good.
I'm learning.
And this will be our last
I'm
parent
not
series.
tech savvy at all. So.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. This is our last series, obviously, this year. But again, the reason we wanted to do this is to prepare for next year. And it will be my personal commitment and definitely the committee's commitment to open these lines of communication so that there's more of a connection between us and the parents. And so we are just more aware of what's going on, and also moving forward next school year and creating these ambassadors. So we have connection points with our students as well, because we want to make sure that we're creating an environment that's safe for them as well. So again, thank you for your engagement. Thank you for your transparency. Thank you for committing this time to us. And we look forward to continuing the conversation, and we look forward to continuing to hear your voice, activated voice. So thank you for your time, and enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you very much, Lisa. Great job. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you all so much for coming. Thank you.
Thank you.